You're on.
Okay, good morning. It is Friday, September 24th, Tufton Borough Board of Selectmen's meeting. Let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do we have any public input?
I have none.
And no other members of the public here. All right. Move to review and approval of minutes. Regular meeting minutes of Monday, September 13th.
I'll move approval.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
I abstain since I wasn't here.
Diana Hookie.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. We also have non-public minutes from that date.
September 13th.
Yep.
I'll move approval.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Once again, I must abstain.
You must. Okay. Chief Thompson, come on down. How are you, sir?
Thanks.
As of the 24th, we've done 169 fire calls, 208 medical calls, 64 service calls, 9 special details for 450 total. Gas burn
Can
inspection. Yeah.
When next you come, can you bring 2020 figures along with 2021, just so we can see if there's increases in pumping it out?
Yeah.
Okay,
I can do that.
thanks.
Gas burner inspections are 33, oil burner inspections 9, wood pellet stove inspections 6, life safety 26 for a total of 74. The venting update for the 2 gas furnaces at Central Station has been completed by Brookside Plumbing and Heating. The driveway crack filling has been completed at all the stations, and the driveway sealing will be coming soon and be completed by Sunday paving. An update on Rescue 1's check engine light. The reduced power mode is as follows. The vehicle is currently usable, but we are waiting for a new turbo to be installed. However, the part will not be in until mid-October, and that's warranty work is being done at Rochester 4. The department's new Scott Air Packs, which was a warrant article from last year, are in service. Anyone wearing them has gone through in-service as far as training, and as far as mask fitting testing, anyone that wasn't available to do either of those will be coming in to take care of that, but just about everyone has been through the required fit testing. We are currently pricing.
So what happens to the old units?
The old units were a trade-in,
Okay.
so they left on a trailer the night that we put everything in service.
Okay. So anybody that hasn't got the training on the new units or fitted yet
Yep.
is out of luck until that happens, right?
Yeah, as far as most of our people, a couple of the people that had not been able to get it currently use, basically the same thing in their job in a full-time position. There is 1 or 2 people that had not been able to get fit tested and things like that. But we had one of the packs as far as a demo for quite a period of time in-house, so people were able to get used to those as we went along. We are currently pricing rear tires for engine 1 We replaced the front tires in 2020, but the rear tires we were able to get another year out of before replacement was needed. With those tires, it's both wear and years that we're looking at for replacement. However, again, just like everything else, the tire company said that they have a lot of tires on back order, so it may be a little while before we get further as far as it goes. The department spoke with a FEMA representative, which was able to verify that the fire department will not be receiving the radio grant. We never made it out of the computer first round pick. However, we were never notified either in reference to that. We'll be working with Ospey Electronics in replacing the radios that we can for $120,000. The radios did go up by $116 because we missed the quote time period while we were waiting for that. But we can outfit what we need to do with that $120. $120,000 as far as it goes.
So how much would it cost to do all the radios?
We are going to do. We had originally asked for 35 radios as far as
Right.
Replacement was. We're going to look at that to see if there is anywhere that can be, cut back on that, or a lesser type cost for, accessories and things like that with the radios.
So the reason I asked, okay, so the article asked for and approved $120,000. So that $120,000 has to be spent toward this project.
Yep.
If it costs more than that, and we can find money someplace else for the rest of it, we can put other money with this money. We just can't divert any of this money to something
Correct.
else.
Correct.
That's why I'm asking you
Yep.
what the total cost of doing it the way you anticipated doing it.
Mhm.
Are we talking another $1,000, another $10,000?
We have to sit down because there are two model radios. One is obviously more firefighter friendly than the second one that we originally were looking at. The first one cost a little bit more money, but it is waterproof. It has larger buttons so that you can operate them with your gloves and things like that. And they also, so you don't accidentally hit some of the buttons. It's just a better makeup. We may now look at getting a certain amount of those and a certain amount of the original radios that we were looking at. But I do not feel that we need to come up with anything further, out of the 120,000. Besides maybe using a certain, a small amount out of the radio budget for that to make up for the
So these radios are going to be in service for a
15
considerable
years.
15 years. So I think, from my perspective, before we say, well, we can kind of settle for this, we need to have everything on the table and look at it. And what I don't want you to do is end up in a situation where you have equipment that's not functioning as well for your folks because we had to scrimp a little bit on buying them.
Right.
So for 15 years, we're
Yeah,
up against
I mean-
an issue there.
Yep.
And you're
That,
coming back 5 years from now and ask for more radio money.
Right.
I think what Bill's saying is that we'd rather just get it done.
Yep.
yeah,
Have it
Yeah,
done have it done right.
we're not coming back for, I will not say that, it's
I-
haunted me in the past, but as far as,
all I'm saying is, if you need more money besides what you have here and in your own budget,
Right.
let's have that conversation before you order the radios.
Yep.
And if we have to find some money, or give us the opportunity to find that money before you say, well, we're just gonna have to settle and go off this way. So when we put this thing together, you had a certain type of radio and a certain number of radios
Right.
in mind. The price has gone up a little bit. I don't have any feeling for exactly where if you took that original concept and laid it out on the table today, what we're talking about in terms of price.
Correct.
But I would like to know what that is before you go up and say, well, yeah, we can kind of go with this model over here instead.
So basically, there was two different models. We went with the lesser model with the radio grant because there was a better chance of getting the grant as far as that goes. Obviously with us, no. But there is a $1,700 difference between the radios. Does everyone need, that higher priced radio that is on the roster?
So
and
you need
stuff like
35 radios?
that? We had put in 35 radios that covered replacing the radios in the trucks as far as portables that are, each truck has a portable radio in it. to
Preferred
do-
radio costs, I say it's $1,700 more, but what's a radio cost?
A radio?
Yeah.
I thought I had it with me.
Well, you got a general idea?
Yeah, one was just over $4,000,
Okay.
and one was $2,800.
Okay, so,
So you're, if it's 4,100, you're at $143,000.
yeah,
Right.
We got 120, so we're looking at 17 grand on the outside.
mhm.
Okay, just so we've got some
Yeah,
idea
but,
before we leave here today.
So what we were looking at is that we felt that we could go with maybe a mixture of the two, or the beginning with a few less as far as it goes, because going down through the list, will we have the same amount of personnel? We're currently looking at our personnel list saying, okay, we haven't seen these people in a year. Letters will be going out, so we'll have less people on the roster, but we need to have at least the amount of radios that we currently have to meet, future and things like that as far as in place.
So 8 or 9 of these 35 radios would have to be the cheaper radios
Right.
in your scenario. So I guess we'd have to,
And as far as cheaper, they're not substandard by any means. They're
Less expensive.
They're just less expensive, and they have less features
Right.
that the original one has. They're not necessarily waterproof. If you drop it in the water, it's gonna have issues. But the radios that we have now are water resistant for a period of time, and they would be the same thing as far as that goes.
Well, I would speak. It's not out of the realm of possibility that we could consider these radios part of the personnel protective equipment. Certainly when a fellow goes into a burning building calling for help would be nice. I would prefer that we didn't go with anything less than the best we could possibly afford. And I'll trust your judgment on what you think you can do, but
Right.
this is important to me. And as you know, I have a family member on the department,
Sure.
so I'm a little biased. But I would think we could probably find the money, but you come up with what you need to do,
Right.
present it to us. And
Yep.
$17,000 is not an impossible figure to deal
No,
with.
we can
so-
find it.
Sure. No, as far as in everything else that has gone on in the year, as far as overages with us, we're being very careful about.
Right.
Obviously.
I also like the
But
idea of
you're looking at-
standardization.
You're looking at your budget,
Yeah.
right?
We're
We're
looking
looking
at
at
the
the whole
whole
town's
thing. Right.
budget.
Right.
So if $17,000 is money that we need to try and find someplace else, let us work on that.
Right. And I appreciate that. And I know that our budget is going to affect the overall budget, especially with a $41,000 overage with that engine that took place. Obviously, our maintenance budget, a great portion of that was already spent before we started, because we had certain things that needed to be accomplished throughout the year as far as it goes. When we sit down and do the budgeting for the vehicle maintenance line, which was like $32,000, a lot of that is already gone, for pre-existing things. So when the $41,000 item comes, it's something that's quite a hit. So, and we know that we need to stay within our lines as much
Yeah,
as
or,
possible.
I mean, extraordinary circumstances are pretty easy to accommodate for in the budgeting process.
Sure.
Because next 2022 budget isn't gonna have a $70,000 repair line.
Right.
Because it was an extraordinary circumstance that pushed that other 40 grand in there. Okay.
So we'll look at that further, and we'll get back to you with the outcome of where
Sure.
we were going through. Department's been struggling with getting personnel out to medical calls between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. We haven't missed any calls as far as that goes. We've covered them. However, you might have one or two people that come out, and we're used to, sometimes a few more. This is for various reasons. Some people had some health issues, change in family dynamics, such as having children, or change in availability due to job changes. We continue to have Stewart's ambulance coming in as the town's primary transport ambulance, which provides us with 2 personnel and advanced EMT A level. We have noted that they, just like everyone else, are spread very thin due to increased calls in their response areas. We have heard 2 times in the past month cover ambulances for Stewart's going into Moultonborough, either from Laconia or from New Hampton. And that would, both times it happened to be on Moultonborough Neck that they went into. Our personnel get out to the calls, assess the patient and treat the patient until Stewart's arrives for transport. If the patient is in critical or immediate need for transport, then if we have the personnel, we will transport in our ambulance. We've been to multiple calls so far this year that several personnel have been needed. We also have been had multiple times that this year that we've had back-to-back calls that either Stewart's has had to send out another rig, and that's within the time period where they really didn't have to send out a rig because they gave us the initial ambulance, or we've transported in our ambulance. We are currently looking at how we can get personnel to respond out at night calls through a night stipend or a sign-up sheet, which would be visited in the 2022 budget. The update on the internet at the fire station has now been completed. It's 200 over 10 versus 15 over 2, so there's quite a change in that. The price is at, there was a $99 one-time fee for a modem, and the price per month is $119. The former price was $135. There's still a question of whether or not that includes the very basic TV package that was there, that if you were watching news, they were supposed to get back to us on that. Before it was, that package was free, but that was something that they were stocking. I read in the Selectmen's minutes in reference to Parks and Rec was looking to place a grill on Cattle Island. Do you know what kind of grill they were looking to place?
So what we said, if I remember correctly, is that any grill that was going to be placed out there would have to be cleared by you. So I don't know what the grill was.
Okay.
Supposedly he found this grill and it was a great idea, and whoa, whoa, whoa. We don't want to encourage unpermitted fires,
Right.
which I think certainly is my concern with, if you put a grill out there, people say, oh, okay, we'll just use it.
Yeah, we have no control over charcoal
Right.
or propane. So my question would be, is that who's going to make sure that the charcoal area is out before the
Well,
people leave?
Have you heard from Dennis?
No.
So what we told him is he had to talk to you before
Okay.
there was any movement toward.
I just
putting
wanted
something out
to, I just had seen that as a glance, so I wanted to make sure that the minutes reflected of what.
there.
Yeah, it was.
Again, I don't know all the ins and outs,
Yep.
but
But
anything that we do in that regard, from my perspective, needs to have your blessing.
Sure.
Is something that works, and if it's got concerns, then you're the guy that's going to stand up
Right.
and say, hey, this can be problematic.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
I see it as potentially problematic out there.
The campfire setup has worked out fairly well. That's something that we can control. We can
Right.
give permits for that because the state requires it. And there has been a couple individuals that have been doing that on a regular basis as far as getting that. One thing that I guess I have questions is that as far as facilities wise, is there facilities there for bathrooms and things like that if we're drawing more people with?
So, no, we don't have a porta potty.
Well, we're not serving the food, so.
Well,
Right.
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, so, is that something to consider for the future?
I'm
Maybe.
I'm just looking at, neighbors complaining because there's more and more people going
Well,
there
the-
because
the
you put
neighbors-
something in place.
The
you know.
neighbors complain because they don't want people using the
Yeah.
town property. They want to pretend that it's just their extended estate. So they do everything that they can to make it look like it's not,
Right. Yes.
it's
We've seen
not
that.
accessible, including knocking the sign over.
Oh, the sign's been knocked over again.
And somebody was out there, put it back up and put a concrete base on the pole, so.
Yeah.
But, they've hung clotheslines, put blankets up, towels, made it look like just kind of the part of their yard.
Sure.
Uh,
So I'll talk with Dennis and see if that has gone anywhere or gonna go anywhere as far as that goes, so.
Or just ignore it and wait for them to come to you.
We'll do that too.
I think we made it clear to them that no grill is going out there unless it gets cleared by the fire chief.
Okay, very good. Department responded to 19 Windowblow Road for a boat that had sunk at the docks at 9:32 a.m. on Friday the 17th, 2021. On arrival, it was noted that fluids from the boat were leaking. Personnel contacted the homeowner and the owner of the boat with assistance of a neighbor. Oil spill boom and pads and boat 3 were brought to the scene to control the leaking fluids from spreading from the affected area that we had there. The boat was raised by the fire department and pumped out in a contained area. It was found that the boat had a significant water leak in the back of the boat. Oil pads were used to wipe up whatever visible oil that could be wiped up so that further water coming into the boat wouldn't contaminate that water leaking in. New Hampshire DES, Environmental Services, was notified and responded to the scene and assisted as needed. The police department was there and assisted as needed. Ken Factor from CETO Wolfboro office was contacted and worked on arrangements with the owner of the boat to get it towed from the basin into Living Museum. Wolfboro Boat Company of Filterbed Road in Wolfboro arrived on the scene at 1:48 p.m. and was at Living Museum by 2:44 p.m. with the boat and getting it out of the lake. At DES's request, we left oil boom around the affected area for the weekend, and they actually came out to look at the area on Monday and remove that boom as we were going down to look at it. So we tried to keep any, it took most of the day with that particular call. We tried to keep any hazards from affecting, you know, such a small area as far as like the basin. You got a pretty condensed area. People are taking water out of the lake there. I don't know if you necessarily drink that, but
Oh, they're
Well,
lake
they do.
drinkers. They're lake drinkers down there,
so
yeah.
whatever we could do to contain and
Lake
keep that from
drinkers.
happening, we did.
It's
So
like a different species.
yes.
Yeah, I've seen
So,
those lately.
That's every boat owner's nightmare, right?
Is that a
Yes.
collective?
The boat sinks alongside the dock, whether it's because the battery runs dead on the bilge pump or whatever.
Somebody forgot to put the plug back in.
Well, yeah,
There was a mechanical issue with the drive
yeah,
that apparently came up too far,
Mhm.
made a crack in the transom.
yeah.
And we didn't notice it, you know, until we did get it pumped out. And then, wow, it's coming in pretty
Yeah.
well. The homeowner had, the night before, had tried to do something with it, but had been sick for 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And wasn't able to take care of it. It took a 500 gallon per minute pump and a 125 gallon per minute pump to be able to get it to where we needed to be, and with some other equipment. But
It's amazing how long it takes to pump something like, you know,
Right.
even with high capacity pump, it's like.
well, you got the whole lake there.
Well, even if you get it sealed up, you
Right.
know, just,
Yeah,
it holds a lot of water.
You need to, obviously you need to get the boat just barely out of the water, and then
Yep.
you'll know right off whether or not that you can do it or not. In most cases, we know if we can't do something, and it's, no, we're not even gonna try.
Yeah,
But Sea-Tow did not have a boat on the lake right at that point, and it probably wouldn't have fit in the basin anyways, as far as what they have. So they had contacted a local boat company to come out and
Mhm.
work with them with that. But they were very good about giving us information of what we needed to look for. Do you have anything further as far as the updates that we came to?
I don't think I have anything
We'll check it. We'll look at the radio situation further.
Were you going on vacation or are you gone already?
Ben.
You've been?
Yep.
Good.
more. I hope he's not going now, his kid's back in school.
Might be the time to go.
Yeah, go, just leave him here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Budget-wise, was there something that I needed to address later on for emergency management and ambulance, or is that
So
something?
we have some budgets to work on today, is that right?
Yes,
Do we?
those are both in the budget that we'll.
All right, well, so we gotta work on those while you're here.
I can come back if needed, if you have
Deal with
another.
Andy or the chief first?
Yeah.
How busy he is.
Hmm?
He looks like he's.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's in the starting gate.
If you want to just give my cell phone a call, I'll come
Okay.
back and
All right.
go through that.
All right, thank you, chief. Calm down, Chief Shigori.
Thank you.
So some areas are still down, motor vehicle, accidents about the same, rest down a little bit. Felonies down, I think though that's because, yeah, I think it's because last year we had two like clusters of felonies by, one of them was one person who did
Multiple times.
multiple offenses that were felonies, so it's not like we had a whole bunch of felonies cases. We had like one case with a bunch of felonies. He stole some guns and stuff. Incidents are down, calls to services are up a little bit. That's probably because we've been doing more like checks of the beaches, checks of some of these areas that people have said are problems, so I've been checking those. Training, we did CIs, it's supposed to be a capital I, and search warrants, identifying suspects is online training, interviews, interrogation. Only had 2 call-outs this month. We had 1 arrest, it was a protective custody, somebody intoxicated, screaming in the lake late at night.
Screaming
And
at the lake or in the lake?
in the lake, very intoxicated, screaming.
At anything in particular?
Huh?
At anything in particular?
Just probably due to the alcohol and
So there was
maybe
no
other issues going on. Yeah. Concerns about them if they stayed in the lake drowning and stuff. So
But they themselves weren't screaming for help.
they weren't screaming for help. I don't
Okay.
believe they were screaming for help. They were screaming in other ways.
I just don't want them screaming at the lake.
Yeah.
Nor in the lake. They were, I think their head was above water, if you want to be technical about it. But, so I've signed up. We're doing, again, we've been doing some online training, plus we've been doing some, we had to do a couple in-person stuff. The sergeant's gone down. But signed up for another online training company to do some work on, get some of the training, the de-escalation, anti-bias, and ethics training that are mandated. I'm working on getting more hours in at that. Let's see, met this week with Homeland Security about another grant possibility for the station. It has to do with, and I know that Phil had talked about this at one point. We had talked about these grants for Homeland Security that, I can't remember the exact the acronym, the letters, but anyway, it has to do with, it's primarily for EOCs, but they do have some for critical facilities. And then the question is, right now, the EOC for the town emergency management plan, emergency operation plan, is essentially, we're sitting in it. You can designate a backup, or you could also, and the priority grant goes to EOCs, backup EOCs are in there too, and then you've got critical facilities. So the question is how much money we get based upon the designation. I'm waiting for it to hear back. Working on that. Clearly, 2 issues.
So what does it take to change the EOC?
I think a designation by the Board of Selectmen in the EOP.
Right. So I mean, it makes sense that it's here now because we don't have this new facility, right?
It's essentially about the same size as the, well, it'll be a little shorter. It goes to the bookcase and to that wall. And
Right.
It's a little wider too.
No, it goes to the front of these chairs.
Really?
That's our conference room is about that big, yeah.
So all I'm
But
saying
it's
is
about the same size.
that if it just takes the designation to make that the place, you know, once that facility's available, that strikes me as a more appropriate place to have it than here anyway.
So working on that grant, I'll
Yep.
make sure that that's kind of, we're kept in the loop as to where that goes on that. And it pays for stuff like a generator, it'll pay for the, as Phil had mentioned before, some of those things will pay for. And we can, requires a 50% match, but it can be match of time. I don't know how you do that necessarily with a generator per se, other than you can say, well, we did time on this for our 50%. To do some of the site work, that this could count towards a generator, I guess. I
I mean, even if it's, currently the budget is having us pay 100%.
Yes,
So a 50% discount is still a 50% discount.
yeah.
And if you can include other things other than the generator,
No, it's more than the generator. It's bollards, it's, there's a screen in that room, the table in that room, the chairs, that sort
well,
of
there's
stuff.
furniture that we've already put in the budget, so it's, yeah.
Let's see, the other thing coming up, drug take back on the 23rd of October. I just signed us up to participate in that.
Oh, good.
10 to 2 on a Saturday, transfer station. And then I'm going to the CIP on the 20th of October. And I submitted, and you should have copies of those. I submitted.
Right.
Do you have something this year?
For next year, yes, several things.
You got a cruiser, you got
I put in 4 different ones. Obviously, it's over a 20-year span, but
10-year, yeah.
I put in for the cruisers. I put in one for body cameras. Another one on radar signs, updating what we got. The one in Melbourne Village, for example, that sign on the trailer, if anything goes wrong, there's no parts for it. It's too old. And other issues with, if we go for more signs. The other one I put in, it's kind of a, yes.
Do those signs have the ability to tell you, I'll drive down Ledge Hill Road on my way to work, and I'm going 40 miles an hour and it blinks at me and tells me to slow down. Does it have any recording device there?
No.
To say, okay, at 8:55, car going 40.
Oh, yes, it does say,
It does traffic counts and speeds, right?
there's traffic counts and speeds
With time?
with times.
So you should be able to take that information
Mhm.
and establish when one of the discussions we had about, one of those roads out there.
Lang Pond.
Lang Pond
Yeah.
Road. When do people speed? Well, the sign is gonna give you that information, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it can. I'm not that familiar with that software. The sergeant is the one who's been doing that, and basically what I see is a pie chart of speeds. So I don't know if it will, with the one that we had on the trailer, I would get that, I'd have to dump the data down, and I could spit that out into all kinds of different graphs. I could even get the raw data into a spreadsheet that I could do whatever with. Get the 85th percentile, I'd see high speed, low speed, average speed, mean speed. I could get all kinds of data out of it because I was familiar with that software. This particular one I'm not familiar with. I'd have to spend some time trying to figure out exactly if I can generate that kind of, not just that one chart, but other charts.
Ask the sergeant if that, and I'm sure there's upgrades or whatever that might happen. I
So that's
just see
part
that as an asset.
No, it definitely is, and that's like the radar sign that's on the trailer would do that before when it was working, but then as computers changed,
Right.
it didn't obviously get programmed. It didn't, it was a Windows 95 program or something like that. That's how it started out. So I know I can do it with that program, but I can't believe it's that way. It does show significantly, and the benchmark is 85th percentile, right, of unimpeded traffic. That's what you want to set your speed limits for. What people will naturally travel without anything interfering with them. That's now I would say the sign being on does maybe trigger some people to slow down, but we are seeing 86, I think we're over 90% on Brown Road going under 40 miles an hour. So I mean, it's not, people are within that kind of a range already. So it's not saying that there aren't once in a while somebody going over that, but I can't say, I don't have the times to spit that out, but I do know that it's not the pattern is people are going the speed limit or under. That's the pattern most
But
significantly.
it also makes things defensible. In other words, if we get a citizen in or a group of them in that says traffic on our road is roaring by at excessive speeds, we have nothing to combat that statement. If we have a sign out there that can give us statistics, now we can say, yeah, we understand that, we'll put the police on it, or no, they aren't.
Well, and I know with a lot of these signs, you can turn the display off. So it gathers the data, but it doesn't feed back to the
Right,
driver
doesn't give
at
any
all.
feedback to
Right.
anybody saying.
Right.
Right.
Which may be a more unfettered.
Right.
And I'd sooner
measure.
invest, and I know you're a fan of the trailer, but I'd sooner invest in 6 or 7 more of those things
The pole mounted
So
units.
my
than the trailer, because
Well, I think
what happens with the trailer is its winter usage is really bad, and I don't know how many times you've been in, but you've been in multiple times with computer issues or battery issues or whatever
And the
issues.
software doesn't work on it.
Yeah. And it's-
So my thought on the CIP that I submitted would be 2 or 3, either one trailer and 2 mounted ones. That would also not require us to actually manhandle them. They would be,
Yeah, just put them up and leave
put them up and leave them, and would also, we'd get the data direct. We wouldn't have to go drag them back here, plug them into a computer.
You have to do that now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, it's,
That's what Wolfboro has. Wolfboro has their signs that they can actually literally just go online and look it up, because it goes through the cloud. Much as I'm resistant to it, the cloud has it's real time, it's close to real time, and it has advantages that we're not dealing with
well, when you only
storage.
have 3 officers working.
It's certainly a lot easier than carrying it back here.
And the likelihood that it happens is more
Yeah.
reasonable. I mean,
Yeah, it takes some time to, well, the trailer takes quite a bit of time to
Yeah.
jack it up and
Right.
level it and make sure it's aimed the right way. And
Sure.
and then you gotta store it, and it's a big trailer, but that's kind of what I was thinking, is several signs that could go. And would be,
So we got
Cloud-based.
cruisers, we got signs, and what else have we got?
I put body cameras down, because I feel that's probably something that's coming, there's some grant money towards it. I put software. Why I put software down is, I don't know when, but at some point it's probably gonna happen. Our software system we use is called IMC. IMC was a family-run company out of Massachusetts. They got bought by one company, it got bought by another company, it got bought, and now it's a big, Central Square is the mothership that has bought all these brands up. The concern, well, what's happened since then is, obviously, as we've done a lot here for cybersecurity, and CJIS compliance is important, because otherwise, if we're not compliant with the Criminal Justice Information System requirements, FBI, they shut us down for accessing information. So what's happened is that they have, there's some concern that they may not stay CJIS compliant, because this is a kind of this orphan thing that they got, or they adopted, you know what I mean? And they have their own kind of web-based monster thing for big areas. So several departments in the state have switched over to another company, a couple different places. Dover has, Portsmouth has, the state police have. The state police never had it anyways, but I know a lot of agencies are looking at it because of the possibility that this may not stay compliant. The reason why is the backbone it runs on is a Microsoft product, and Microsoft isn't committing to keeping security patches for it ever. Some people say it's already may not be compliant. I don't know. We're tied to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office would have to make that commitment, but it could cost us some money, so I put it in there as a possible thing. No idea when. I know I talked to a couple chiefs that have already looked, not in the county obviously, but Grafton County is going to this other company as a county-wide, similar to what we have as a network. That's just something that we may have to face at some point in the next year or two. I estimated in the $20,000 range. I don't know. But
So if they pull out of compliance and that's your software, then inevitably there'll be some grant money kicking around. Because
You
you're
would
not
hope.
the only place that.
you would hope, but places are going for the switch now because they're not confident that the product is. There's 2 parts of it. There's the CJIS compliance. There's also what's the word I want? Features, like to comply with the state, be able to information share with state police and other agencies, because it's not their major project and their big money maker. They may not invest as much time into adding. If the state says we need X added to your product, they may not do it.
So your path is going to be dictated by what the sheriff's office.
The way everything's set up now would be dictated by the sheriff's office,
Right.
and so it'd be, what happens there. I know, like I said, Grafton went and switched. Several others are switching, but nothing from the sheriff yet or any indication that's happening here. But, again, this is over multiple years, so there
Yep.
could be a time at some point in the next 10 years that this could hit us, so I thought it should be on everybody's radar anyways.
Yep,
Seems good.
all right.
Computers and technology changes so fast anyway that you never know.
Yeah.
It's just, you buy something today, it's outdated before you buy it.
Yeah.
Why don't buy them?
Smart man.
And I did, something else that's come up, we talked about Lang Pond Road, there's no parking signs up by the beach.
Right. Can you handle that, or you want us to handle it?
Well, I wanted to mention that, make sure you're aware of that, because it's kind of,
Who controls parking?
I would say the selectmen.
Board of
do.
Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen does in the town, and
Right.
they're like homemade, they're not homemade, they're store-bought signs, but they're just no authorities behind them. And we've now got the signs for the 15 miles an hour on each end, just cautionary with one lane, so there's no reason why one lane couldn't be taken up by parking, essentially,
Well,
it's a one-lane road.
I'm happy to have you handle it. If you want us to send them a letter, we can do that too.
And they're within the right of way?
Well, they're on their trees, but the problem is we get into this thing with people parking there and whether or not they can park there. Well,
They're on their trees, but those trees are probably in our right of way. That's a
probably in the right of way, yes.
road.
Yeah.
So I would think, no, you can't post them. You can
Right.
they can post them in their driveway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's fine.
but, okay, I wanted to make sure you're aware of that.
yeah.
And
Okay, so you gonna handle it, or you
I will
want?
send an email to them to
Yeah.
say,
All right, and
please
if you-
remove them for.
If you get pushed back, I mean, we're happy to jump in there, but you've had an
Part of my
ongoing conversation with
easement
us.
that we have across that is includes parking, right?
You can park on every town road.
Except where we restrict it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or, and the state roads where the state restricts it.
Right.
So that's just the way it,
Parking is available unless otherwise.
Unless you abandon your car like that
Right.
red car across from Ham Cemetery. I don't know.
That's gone.
It-
I know it's gone now, but.
Yeah.
For a few days, it wasn't.
There's a few days it was, and last Friday, yeah, they had a nightmare getting out there according to them, but last Friday, they were able to get it out, I unlocked it for them. They had a flat tire, they said fuses were missing from the car, I don't know who comes by and steals fuses from a car.
Fuse thief, right?
Fuse
Yeah.
thief, and then, well, they said the window was broken and stuff, and then, well, not a window broken, but the door was jimmied or something, I don't know. But then it was locked, and they couldn't unlock it because I don't know. I got them in, they could drive away, it's gone.
Cars gone.
There are a lot of nicer cars on Ledge Hill Road than that one to break in.
Yeah.
Break into something.
Well, it may not have been,
Yeah.
it may have been targeted.
Any number of possibilities in today's current environment.
Yeah.
all right, anything else for the chief?
I'll see you
I
with
think
that.
the body cams are probably a good idea,
Mhm.
regardless of what the state does.
Right.
And I saw that, did you hear about the Stratford County thing yesterday?
No,
I'll come over and visit with you.
it's a,
Domestic turned into assault rifle, turned into block courthouse,
oh, I did not hear about that.
yeah. So it's happening out there, even in New Hampshire. Nobody got shot.
One of the concerns I have with one of the things that's come up recently in discussions within the chiefs that I've had is, the disparity between the two laws, between body cameras and cruiser cameras, what's covered, what's not covered, and which is clear. So it's a significant price, but on the flip side, it gives you the same, it may be smart for us to look at just doing body cameras without cruiser cameras for a variety of reasons. You can cover a lot of the same stuff, and the law is a little more protective of victims' rights, privacy rights of people. And also, it's clear as to what is and isn't public records.
Well, it's a newer law, right?
It's a newer law, it was hashed out, yeah. So I think there's some I didn't see that till this discussion was coming forward and we compared the laws, and I went, and certain issues came up, and I said, yeah, you know,
This has better features in it than the,
there's some advantages of being more restrictive, put it that way.
Yeah, but body cameras are gonna give a more complete record than a
Right,
car
and there's
camera.
also, it also specifically says you have to protect victims if they, and who can stop a recording, and also what can be released and not be released.
Right.
It's more specified in that versus the other laws. So that's why I kind of came around thinking, yeah, much as some of it's, I don't like the restrictive nature of it, I understand there's a protective nature to it too. So,
To serve and protect, remember that.
that's correct. They're pretty pricey. It's over a 5-year span. The theory is at the end of 5 years, the stuff is out of date, so you just need to update them. It's fairly significant, but you can pay for a very expensive one that does a lot of it automatically, or you can pay for a lesser one and have more human time, clerical work. And it's not to be dismissed, even though the grant pays for equipment. There is a grant right now through the state. I don't think it has enough to fund for everything, everybody that could be asking, but we're talking, well, if we got both, one company bid I got was cruisers and body cameras, was $88,000 over 5 years. Kind of pricey, but that's one it's hooked in, it doesn't fall out,
So when you say 88,000 over 5 years, you mean financing it for 5 years?
what they typically do is charge you 40% the first year, then they charge you the other 80, or we could do it all up front too.
so it's like a lease purchase?
Well, they tend to sell you a service package, because you gotta store the data somewhere, and the cloud, again, I've come around on this, the cloud is the way to go with this, rather than deal with your own server and your own network and making sure it's backed up. And because what you do, the beauty of the cloud-based service is, for a case, for a defense attorney, I don't have to burn a DVD and burn one for my file and burn one for the county attorney. I give them an email that has a link to download it if they want. And if they don't do it within 5 days, too bad, or whatever daylight.
Yeah, and that defense, if you will, of tampering doesn't exist, because it's uploading.
Right.
You're not putting it in your server and then putting your,
Depending on the system, but it uploads daily or
Right.
regularly. And
but it's not edited.
It's not edited, and well, you do have to redact some of it sometimes. So there is some, but it's redacting and blurring faces, or victims giving out certain information you have to redact out. That's part of the restrictions in the law that protects victims in certain cases. But you will have an unredacted copy too. But my point is, instead of sitting there burning DVD after DVD after DVD like I do now with the cruisers, and then mailing those out, I would just send a link to the attorney saying, it's good for 7 days to download your copy. You can watch it, download it, whatever you want with it, in 7 days, and it's done. It's not
A more efficient use of time.
Yep.
on that end, yes, but yeah. So it has some, I've come around to that, but the problem with that is they charge you so much a month, so much a year to store your data too, and it gets expensive, but I see the advantage of it now. But
Well, I think we're all gonna start seeing the advantage of it when we start getting and this could happen this year, our liability insurance.
Yeah.
Are you prepared to defend efficiently? Are you prepared to give records efficiently? And if you aren't, then what's our risk, says the insurance company. So, I mean, I think the cost starts to be outweighed by the cost of other things that are involved.
So I did put that in. I did not put a date down for it, but I did submit, and I think the month, I think it's probably a good idea to look at it seriously, and I think it has advantage over the cars like we have now, for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do, and there is the ability, every one of these companies can merge both, car and, the vehicle-based one along with the body one.
All right.
So you can have those together. But,
So, still your primary focus has to be grant money on this building. We gotta get this thing done in 2022.
right, and is there, I guess this is something, Kathy mentioned, was that the grant money for COVID, is any of that able to be used for it?
So, and that's a good question. I know they had a interactive something.
She said it might be able to, I think, and obviously the thing, like I pitched in the rural development one, was we've got 4 people within, about 10 in one room. We could be wiped out as a department
Right.
effectively.
So the municipal association is a resource on this. I don't know what you can find on their website.
Kathy had printed some stuff out. It
Okay.
says it might be available to
All right.
do towards, I think it can also be used towards vehicles too, so.
All I'm saying is, maybe reach out to them and with specific things that you're thinking about. And I know the state has engaged a consultant to assist municipalities with,
Okay.
with latching onto this money.
Kathy had a printout because she did
Yeah.
the presentation on it.
Yeah.
Said that it could possibly be used for that. I'll talk to her and
So,
find out
I
about
mean,
the contact.
So, and I didn't participate in that. I know earlier discussions, they were saying, yada, 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 yada. Now there's some additional refinement there. There's still a lot of gray area. So I think what we want to do is start targeting some of this and saying, all right, so let's drill down a little bit more. And nothing's going to be 100%, but if there's an opportunity there to go after this stuff, then certainly we want to get
So-
after it.
And just so, blindsided by the CIP thing, on the vehicles, we're not gonna be able to get a vehicle probably till late next year because of the way the delay with chips has caused
So
a
there's
backlog.
inventory. Right.
No inventory, and they've actually, at least with GMC, has said, well, they've shut down all of them have shut down their factories at different times. GMC has said the only way to get a 2021 will be if you have an order like soon, before the end of the year. Dealer Tally is not gonna be able to order, 20 to have sitting on their lot. They will only do what they have orders for. Tally's the one who sent out an email to their customers. They're not gonna have any inventory sitting that you can call up and pull from like we did last year.
The
So,
same thing's gonna happen in 2022, because this isn't gonna go away instantly.
right,
It's
but because
working through the system.
our meeting is in March, by the time we get the money approved, it's not gonna be till the fall.
Or later.
Or, probably won't see the vehicle until the end of the year.
And not to point a finger at my chief of police, who I love like a brother, but your history of getting a vehicle into service is abysmal. So if we get a vehicle in September, I'm not expecting it to be in service much before January. So that said, I'm gonna ask you to consider the notion that you don't litter up our warrant articles with a cruiser in 2022, and you wait until 2023. It's not going to effectively change anything about the way you do business, because you're not going to have that 2022 cruiser in service realistically before the first of 2023.
But I won't be able, but then we'll wait until March for 2023 to get a warrant article, and then it'll be probably the summer of 2023 before a new one could be here.
Mhm.
And it puts us almost into 2024 by the time it's,
Well, I hope it doesn't put us into 2024.
well, I'm saying the fall.
Let's say it's 6 months.
Yeah,
You got a 6-month window there. Really, 9 months at the
but
outset.
that's like putting us out 2 more years.
No, it isn't.
So So I'm not exactly, I'm not following where you're going other than delaying things.
Okay,
So
well,
there's some things that we don't have any control over. Okay, town meeting's in March, so we're never gonna have an approved article until March. Don't, I hear what you say about available vehicles and inventory to buy from. That may not be there, but there is no reason that the day after town meeting you can't place an order for a vehicle, right?
That is correct.
And you don't know how long it's gonna take to get the vehicle, but it's never gonna, if it's
Well-
gotta be ordered, it's never gonna happen until after it's ordered.
Except they have, and you would know better than I, there's windows for ordering, right? Sometimes,
Some, currently there is.
yeah.
Yeah,
For the
It's
fleet
not-
sales, like-
Historically, there haven't been windows all the time. I mean,
Right.
historically, you could order a cruiser any day of the week.
Yeah, well, a lot of times when they shut down, they say, well, we don't take any orders because we're remodeling for the next model year.
Building something else,
Mhm.
right.
That's kind of what's happening with the Tahoes, at least the Chevy. GMC has said, we're not taking any orders. You know, if you're gonna be ordering before December, you're probably not gonna see one, a 2021 model year. Or 2022 model year, 2022 model year. You won't see one unless you order it by December. So then if they, I don't know when they'll open up ordering again for fleet sales. Anyway, that's kind of,
Well, I don't think.
so
we're the
how
only
does
police-
everybody else deal with this? We're not the only town, right?
well, they order them. This is kind of a unique thing, is because of the delays, right?
Right,
Some places order them ahead of time, and some dealers will go and say, yeah, okay, we'll hold it for you. I almost got one from McMulkin that way, because somebody's vote fell through, but they had somebody else come forward before me to get it. Some dealers will do it, but some, like Tally buys a bunch, and then,
But the problem that, I mean, cities are working on different budget structures than we are.
they are,
And they're buying a lot more cars than we are.
right.
right.
So this one or two cruisers or one cruiser a year customer isn't at the top of the priority list. But where I was going was, if you know that there's gonna be a shortage, and there is currently a shortage, or no
Yeah.
cars available at all, and that's running into 2022, why do we wanna put $40,000 or $50,000 on the warrant that isn't gonna get spent?
But I think it will get spent, but I'm saying that we will need to be aware that it won't be until the fall, probably, when they open up orders again. In other words, if I don't have the money, I can't order it in the fall. If they say, okay, September to January, December, you can order, you get the fleet price.
All right,
This-
so,
All right.
To me, resembles in one way our dilemma with the police station. We appropriated money, but we couldn't use it. If we appropriate money for the police cruiser, we may or may not be able to get to use it before the fall, or even the next year. And how many cruisers do we have right now?
We have 5. One of them has almost 140,000 miles on it. Another one has close to 100,000.
And that is really bad for a police cruiser to have that kind of mileage, because I got
Yeah.
a van that's 240
It is,
something like
and they're
that.
rusting. 2 of them
It's
are
a
rusting.
body issue.
Yep.
Okay,
And
thanks.
All right, I mean, this is just the shot over the bow. We'll keep talking about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what I would challenge you with is to look at strategies to move this thing along. So, you mentioned, for instance, orders that are placed before the vote. Don't know if you can do that without a penalty. I'm not aware of any time that we've had a cruiser on the warrant that hasn't been approved, and obviously we can't obligate an expenditure that we don't have the authority for.
yeah. And
But a factory order is not, getting in line for production is different from taking delivery on a vehicle, right?
Yes.
So maybe you could find out more about when their windows are on accepting orders, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, but I'd like to look at the contract before.
Yeah.
we
Well,
start with this,
we-
because it may be.
if we do an order and it's not obligating the town to spend money at this point, I think legally there isn't an issue with that. If we don't have the authority to spend the money, we can't send them a check.
Right.
If they don't, if the order is getting it into the schedule for future production at some point down the road, and all that happens after the vote is taken, just raising the issue as a possibility. I don't know the answer, but I do think we can never get a cruiser, so let's get some money and just set it aside for when we might be able to get a cruiser.
No,
It doesn't have a lot of
I
appeal.
think we can get a cruiser, but it'll be late in the year, is my point, by the time we can possibly get it. We'd have to probably order it in the fall,
I don't know.
is my point, to get it.
I have not signed those yet.
I'll let her know.
Then she'll find out. The cover sheet alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, all right.
All right,
So keep working on,
Keep working on the police
approach.
station.
And the police station.
Right.
We know that materials prices have moderated some, that's gonna help us out a little bit.
Yeah.
Additional grant money out there is gonna make it that much sweeter going forward.
okay.
All right,
Thanks.
thanks, chief. All right, signature file. So, got request for change in employee compensation for transfer station attendant. And I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
I motion that we approve that.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay?
Is this someone that was on probation or had some other
Uh-huh.
reason why we're changing their compensation today?
So it's a new hire.
It's a new hire.
Oh,
It's
okay.
really
Right.
not
So
so much a
it's-
change as it is in.
Right,
Oh, look.
it's a per diem
Okay,
employee.
all right.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, got the MS1. Summary of inventory valuation. With a there's the grand total of $38,035,339. Seen this?
No, I haven't. So the actual assessed value is 1,216,591,000.
Did I pulled the wrong?
Yeah, that was
Wrong number.
that
All
was
right.
what was scaring me.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay. And the valuation on the co-op and the Eversource is compliant with their lawsuit. All right, I'll move that we have the chair. No, I guess
if we all sign, yeah.
Yeah, I'll move we sign.
I'll second that. I went through that earlier.
Yep, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have right of burial for the Town Hall Cemetery for Douglas L. Barker.
And that was just a correction. He called and said his name was spelled incorrectly
So
and
we voted on that already? We must have.
We must have.
Yes.
So this is.
And the burial is taking place.
Oh, okay.
last week.
There's no digging them up now.
Throw them up.
I'll move that we re-sign the right of burial.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. There are legal procedures to actually exhume. But in this case, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Didn't have his right of burial. I didn't see any action items, Bill. Was there a sheet of action items?
Yeah, we got a folder with a few in here. So, all right. So. Email from a resident regarding a utility pole on Sodom Road that was hit in a vehicle accident on a Saturday night at 1:30 in the morning.
Hi, Adam, it's Cammy. Come on back. Okay.
So her question is, I know the power line poles all along Sodom are very close to the road, however, this is the top of Kerr's, so if he hadn't hit that, then he would have hit a tree. Just wondering if there's anything we can do about that. So, I know we have an ongoing issue with utility poles that are too close to the lane, and I'm gonna suggest we ask the New Hampshire Co-op to come meet with us to discuss placement of those poles. And I think they're co-op poles, although I'm not,
Is that on Sodom Road?
it's on Sodom Road, yeah,
It should be co-op poles.
yeah.
Yeah, our electric bill was always co-op. We're on, so.
Well, but
Could be.
the utility poles are placed by the different utilities based upon some sort of an agreement. So it could belong to the telephone company, or to the co-op. And I don't know who's.
Just out of curiosity, I'm gonna drive up there afterwards and I'm gonna look at that.
Yeah.
pole. That'll be
Yeah.
good.
Rod would know as well.
Yeah, but I just have nothing else to
Did
do.
this
and I was
person get
driving up
hurt?
there.
So, she says, thankfully, the guy was all right, although it was a mess. And I guess a mess means the vehicle and all this.
Because, I mean, I'm sure they're like the state, there has to be some death before you do
Yeah,
anything.
well, right. But I know that they can be moved.
Yeah.
I think about one on, up on Sodom that was broken in a storm
Mhm.
last year, or the year before, and the new pole they put in next to it was actually closer to the road than the old one, which was too close already, so.
I know the one
We
at
can
the-
get our co-op rep to come in here and talk with us.
I know the one at the foot of my father's driveway was hit multiple times over the
Yeah.
years.
Well, and a lot of these you see get nicked by the plows, which is not good for the plows either.
You're right, definitely.
And it makes it a challenge clearing snow.
A double
in the
whammy.
wintertime. All right. Next, we have a notice from the Bureau of Planning and Community Assistance regarding Governor's Advisory Commission on Intermodal Transportation. And they're holding public hearings for the 10-year plan. And there's a whole schedule of them here. Looking at, looks like the closest one to us, well, there's one in Plymouth, there's one in Franklin, there is one in Conway on today, no, yesterday, that doesn't help as much, yesterday at 3 p.m.
Missed that one.
We did. So that has to do with the 10-year plan. All right, have a request from the Parks and Rec Commission to appoint 2 new members, Joyce Lake and Chris Lanaway. Lanaway?
Yes.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion on that.
I would move that we appoint Chris Lanwet and Ms. Lake, I forget her first name,
Yeah, Joyce.
Joyce Lake to the Parks and Rec Commission.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? They are for a term to expire in June of 2024. All right, now we're up to budgets. So we have, well, I guess about
Adam's coming in.
10 budgets to go over. And where, Camry, do you know where our budget paperwork is?
It's in our folders, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the
Is it
folder.
all in the folders?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yep, thank you.
Sure.
All right, so let's start with legal. 4153. So the budget for this year total is $63,350, of which we have expended just under $33,000 year to date. And this year's budget is very close to what we actually expended last year. So,
Yeah, I mean,
any thoughts?
That's no increase.
at our current rate of travel, we're gonna spend 40 grand, so I think we may be able to lighten up on this just
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah,
Gordon's eyes are lighting up.
It's a matter of time.
You're more, I guess, you wanna start at the top?
yes.
Okay, my suggestion on the top line would be to go from 40,000 to 30,000. I don't know what kind of legal planning money needs to be there. Is it the start of the movie? Should we?
It's, it all depends upon.
I mean, do you see any issues?
Yeah, I see ongoing issues with some of the players. This far this year, we've expended 12 grand, so
Mhm.
that suggests that we may not make it all the way to 20 this year.
But you want to leave it at 20?
I think we're better served by leaving it at 20.
Okay.
Conservation, I know there's some
Well, we've got
conservation out there that's,
yeah, we've got the Great Meadow project that we've just approved.
yep,
That's gonna cost some legal money.
it is. So I guess I'd suggest leaving conservation, cemetery, and trustee of trust fund budgets where they're at. They're not huge budgets.
Okay.
And we just dropped 10 grand out of
So that would put the bottom line of budget, and I'm gonna make this into a motion, Guy, unless you got,
No, that's fine.
okay. I'm gonna make a motion that legal expenses budget 4153 for a total of $53,350.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So next, 4199, other government. And we budgeted 475 this year and have expended nothing to date. Now, we will spend money printing the CIP report. That timing on that is always, right at the end of, right before the end of the year. As I look back over the last several years, typical total expenditure, 350, 200, 187, 328, 240. So we could squeeze it down a little bit, or we could leave it as it is.
I would, Adam's not here, and I'm not certain whether the Joint Loss Safety Committee's been actually spending any money.
So,
But it's
what we spend money on sometimes is training,
Yeah.
and I think we have some training coming up yet this year.
Here comes Adam now.
Yeah. So, and I don't know that he's directly involved with those expenditures, but we'll ask. So we're dealing with Joint Loss Safety Committee budget.
Yeah.
Some years we have some expense, some years we don't. As I remember, often we have expenses because it's some sort of money we pay out for some training.
Right.
I think we have some training scheduled yet this year.
Yeah, there is some CPR training
Right.
that is scheduled for that Caleb takes care of.
Yeah. So I'm gonna suggest that we go forward, leave what's in there, and go forward. I'll move 4199 for a total of $475, which is the same as what we budgeted this year.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
What happened?
all right. Next up is 4215 ambulance contract. Are you ready to speak to that today? Sure.
Ambulance-wise, I had talked to Stewart's in reference to contract for 2022. There was a 4.4% increase, which would be $8,664.94. That's limited to New Hampshire CIP, and that would be over the 2021 budget of $196,930.44. So the projected amount would be $205,595.38 for the coverage for the year.
So, when I look at the worksheet here, we have this year expended $131,000. Is that the rate of travel on, the right rate of travel on that?
No,
It seems
that's
like we're
late.
behind.
Yeah, we don't, that's only brings it to 140,000,
Yeah.
145,000.
So,
Because there should be a payment that goes out every month.
yeah,
So was some payment not reflected, what are the monthly payments?
I never see that. Alls I know is that it's divided up by 12 months
So-
and it's paid by
196,930 divided by 12.
So 16,410,
And we've probably got 8 months payments in there. So,
yeah.
yeah,
So we've got January, or July. Or we have August, September, October, so she hasn't posted August yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we're looking at a 4.4% increase.
And
Does it,
because of the CPI.
That's what they.
it doesn't matter whether we commit to 2 years versus 1 year?
I don't believe so. I can go back to him
Well, I shouldn't think so.
and
It
find
just-
out, but they're going off of the CPI as far as it goes with that.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the 2022 ambulance budget 4215 for $205,595.38.
Do I
I'll
have a-
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 4290, emergency management. Ooh.
Do we have the actual for
This year?
this year?
Yeah, but we don't, what we don't have is a,
That's the budgeted number for
So-
That's what I meant, the budget.
so for some reason, the budget worksheets don't, in the left-hand column should be the budget for this year, not 2022.
I know.
And it's got nothing in it, so it doesn't,
Doesn't help us a lot, does it?
no.
My overall budget last year was $21,703.
21,703?
Yep.
That
That's
was
for
the
2021. Yeah,
Yes.
That was the approved budget.
all right.
Okay.
So, and I know a number of items in your budget are things that happen late in the year.
Yeah. What I did this year, as far as last year, we budgeted $4,000 for COVID because we spent far more than that. This year, we've spent roughly like $196 for that. I dropped the COVID line down to 2, and because we had a generator maintenance that is coming up at the central station,
$6,000?
that is fairly expensive. That $6,161 covers all the generators
In the town?
in the town.
Okay.
It's broken down underneath here. The extended interval preventive maintenance contract for $3,066. That is for the central station. That covers a 6-year module program and a 3-year item that needed to be done coming up in 2022. Where they actually go through the generator, they replace.
So the $3,066 is basically an extended warranty?
It's not an extended warranty. It's a
Service contract?
like a service contract for taking care of a 6-year item. So basically, it says. Purpose of the quote, to provide the estimate for extended interval maintenance service required to keep system in proper operating condition as noted on the recent maintenance. So when they did the maintenance on this, the unit has been in service for, I think, 8 years now. At 6 years, a company should have gone through, replaced any, taking the antifreeze out. There's a thermostat and gaskets that need to be situated. The lower radiator hoses should have been replaced. They go through the whole system as far as belts, sensors, air filters, and flush the whole system. That's never been done on this unit. They recommend that every 6 years, and every 3 years the unit should be gone through, put under a test load for 2 hours, and operated for whatever period of time, this is all covered under that
So
particular maintenance agreement.
in 2019, you spent $4,979 or $5,000.
Mhm.
Historically, you've been spending around $1,200 on that line item. This year you spent $895 so far, so you're
Yeah.
probably gonna spend.
Yes, we have not done the maintenance on the central generator as far as.
So what happened in 2019?
There was some type of issue as far as, that went on in town.
So wasn't that the
Uh,
mobile?
That, oh,
That was the
that
mobile
was the-
generator had a problem. and
Yeah.
Okay.
With
we-
the mobile generator, we spent roughly $9,000 before we got into the $15,000 that it took to
Right.
fix it.
So going
Completely.
forward, I mean, you're talking about spending $6,000 in 1 year to accommodate for a 6-year service plan. How does that affect the 2023 budget? Are we back down to $1,200?
So the generator repair in 2021 was $3,800. That was budgeted.
Okay.
This year it's 6,161 because of this service contract, the addition in the price. Usually we put in $1,350 for the central station generator. That was last year's amount. But this year, obviously, we were looking at the $3,066 versus the $1,350.
All right, so your total request for the year is up $500
Correct.
from this year's budget.
Right.
Yeah.
We're finally standardizing things. We used to have Milton Cat come in to do the generator at the fire station.
Mhm.
I had been working with generator connection at another site for the mutual aid, and they've done very well for us there, and they were a lot less money. The Milton Cat, when they came out to do stuff, we were charged approximately $500 just for them for travel time.
Yeah.
So we're trying to reduce things as we go along, and the generator connection has caught some things that the other company has let go by as far as it goes. So, what I hope not to do is to get in the situation that we did with the mobile generator and, have a major issue because something was missed.
And your forest fire expense, you got $2,333 you spent so far.
Yep.
What did we budget last year? for that?
We budgeted the same $4,500.
Okay.
Or actually, we budgeted $4,400. I went up $100 because when we do our fire permits and stuff like that, we pay a certain amount of money for the envelopes, postage and stuff like that for the seasonal permits that go out. That price went up a little bit, so I'm just making sure we cover that. The forest fire expenses also cover anything that, if we went out to forest, say the unpermitted burn that
Right.
happened on Brown Road, where that got away from them. If we have to pay mutual aid companies, because they can bill for forest fires and stuff like that, if we had to pay, I need a line item for that to come out of, and money in that. But most of the time, as far as mutual aid wise, our mutual aid, Ospey Valley Mutual Aid, has been very good about not billing each other with that. as much as possible. But if you get a town that's outside of the mutual aid, you might have to pay a bill.
So you have two different lines that have the same title on it. Up at the top, 06, and down near the bottom, 26. They both have the same title, so how is one different from the other? Emergency E-line, fire, police, EMS.
On here.
Yeah.
So we've got this line here, the 06 line is the same as the 26 line. Is that just a clerical problem?
And
It must be, there's no
because there's no money
requested
with
for the
that.
top one.
Okay, so we get rid
And
of
this is not something they have. I haven't seen that yet. But yeah, they.
She doesn't give you one of these when you start working on it?
I get one, like each month, but I don't.
Yeah.
Mine didn't have that,
Okay.
that E-line section there. Mine just had, it started with operations and it ended with a stipend.
All right, yeah, so the one up top,
It's just
maybe
a clerical error,
yeah.
I would say.
all right. Any more questions?
As the year closes up a little bit, I may be able to do better with this, obviously, as far as.
Well, this is gonna go to the budget committee on the 5th of October. so-
Okay, but there's nothing saying that before the end of the year that it couldn't be revisited if we found that there was something that changed substantially that was
Particularly if it
for the better.
be revisited down, that's always embraced more favorably than
Yeah,
come back
than
and say,
going
oh,
up.
we missed something and we need to
So we don't have to revisit it down. I mean,
Yeah.
We're
Right.
gonna look at the whole budget at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
As
that's,
much as the chairman of the budget committee doesn't like to revisit, he probably would make an exception if it would go down.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure of that.
the thing that we're, up in the air, obviously, as far as COVID wise, last year there was a substantial amount of expenses, and this year it's gone the other way.
We don't know.
We have, I think that we have a certain supply of stuff, which is good, and we're staying with that. So we're a little bit better prepared for that.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve emergency management budget 4290 for $22,246.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and that may be the last what we're doing included, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
If you were looking for the difference in 2020 to 2021, it's 75 calls.
Yeah, okay, when you're back at your spreadsheet,
Yeah.
this is what the police give us.
Okay.
So you see how it's got last year,
Sure.
this year, just so we can kind of see if there's
Yeah,
any trends.
It is
happening.
helpful to.
Because we at the end of the year, ours is that's the breakout that we have. You want
Right.
something like that?
It doesn't have to be that extensive.
So, yeah, so when we look at the monthly thing, and.
You know what?
and just having some sense for, are we running at about the same rate as last year, or are we way up?
I can tell you that this year's numbers are without a lot of repeat EMS, lift assists and stuff like that, and they're up. So if we had the people that we used to deal with in the past, but they passed away or, since moved out of town, we would probably be way up in numbers as far as it goes. But I would say that this is a good representation of what normal is now for us, because we're seeing it throughout.
But just so you understand where I was coming from,
Yeah.
is if I can look at 2021 and then look at 2022,
Sure.
we can see sort of trends happening that might forewarn us of a need for some equipment issue that we
Right.
either we currently don't have enough of or we don't have any of them, so that we're not blindsided or it doesn't come as a complete shock to us that, you know,
Would we ever shop?
sometimes, this year you've been very shocked.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
If they had attended the CIP meeting, they might have been shocked.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that.
I can't spell CIP.
Awesome.
I don't
Anything else
know.
with?
If the last 4 pages may have to deal with Adam as well.
The last 4 pages.
No?
So,
We've got direct assistance, animal control, and patriotic purposes.
oh, the long-term bonds and notes,
Yeah,
Gives-
yeah, but he doesn't have any control,
okay,
Right.
so he doesn't have any input, that's all scheduled.
perfect.
Okay.
So, but
Awesome.
thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you.
All right,
Any idea of when you'd be looking for the normal budget or when the
It's gonna be
pay rate figures
I
would be?
think end of October is what we're hearing,
Okay.
as far as the CIP
chart.
and also the health insurance costs, so
No, that's right. Yeah,
we'll get that put together. But the rest of it you can put together.
Yeah.
And, yeah, then we'll talk about wages.
Super. Thank you.
thank you, chief. Okay, 4414, animal control.
Have a good day.
So this year, we had 1,800 in the budget, and we've spent
1,400.
1,463 already.
Yep.
So,
And I don't see I should have them.
you get the backup, right?
Looks to me like we're about on schedule.
Yeah, yeah,
See the big issue with it.
yeah. Last year, we were down overall, but this is running more true to what we've seen over the
All
last.
right, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the animal control budget 4414 for $1,800.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. 4442, direct assistance. So,
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of
we've had very,
welfare this
very,
year.
very little, yeah.
Right. So I think it would be safe to start looking at reducing a few of these numbers. We get an awful lot of help from like the Melvin Village Community Church.
Right.
and
Yeah, very good one.
civic organizations.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say that we can drop shelter to 3,000 and fuel to 1,500. And
All right. Maybe we want to drop electric down too.
yeah, I think we can drop, well, let's leave food alone, but I think, because the electric was picked up by a couple of different charitable organizations, so can we go to 1,500 on the electric? That's 2, 1, 1. And that would bring it down $4,000, so we'd be at $8,250 for the total budget. Down from $12,250. That's my calculation anyway. Are you taking notes on this, Cammy?
I am.
All right.
All right.
So I'm gonna make I'm sorry, Guy, I haven't heard from you.
My hand calculation matches yours. I
I'm
think
gonna
we're okay.
make a motion that we approve direct assistance budget 4442 for $8,250.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Patriotic purposes, 4583. $1,500, which is what it's been at for the last, at least the last 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the budget for patriotic purposes to $1,500.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Gifts and donations. So, going back over the past 5 years, it's ranged from almost nothing to $430. This year we've gone $235. I think we can probably knock this one down some.
500, knock it down to 1,000.
Or even 500.
Well, let's try 1,000 this year. Let's
All
give
right.
ourselves a little room.
Yeah,
All right.
1,000.
go to a drain. So I'll make the motion that we approve gifts and donations in the amount of $1,000.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's budget 4589.
Right.
Yep. 4711, long-term bond and notes in the amount of $153,711, which is,
Where it's been since 2017.
hmm?
That's where it's been since
Yep.
2017.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion that we approve long-term bonds and notes, budget 4711, for $153,711.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So,
Well done. That's nice.
yep, as it should be. So interest on long-term bonds and notes in the amount of $22,965, down from $27,143 in 2021, continuing to decline at a rate of about $4,000 a year. So this one on the left-hand side is actually the same as the one on the right-hand side.
Mhm.
I'll have to- Maybe you can chat with Diane about the worksheets,
Yeah, and
the
then
way
we
it's
can
coming
fill
out
the
here.
next round, yes.
Yep. So I will move 4721 in the amount of $22,965.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think we made it through all of them.
Nice.
Yep. All right. Selectmen's update.
Okay, I happened to attend a Zoom meeting yesterday on the federal money for internet access, broadband access. I don't know if that's the one I was supposed to attend, but that's the Zoom meeting I attended.
Yeah.
And it appears as though, and the lady from the municipal association said that she was sending out packets of information on how to apply for money. I forget the acronym, but the conditions that seem to be being placed or prioritizing who gets the money is not served and underserved. And so at some point in time, you have to calculate who's not served in your community and who are the underserved in your community. And that's gonna generate your place on the bid board, if you will, for the grant money. We did talk, and I got to speak, even when there were a few hundred people there, it seemed, but this dilemma of the cable company versus broadband. A lot of these towns are marrying their cable company to their broadband projects. And so they fall into that quagmire that I see where they're providing all the capital and having no control over the rates or the distribution. The distribution is starting to get cleared up because it is they have to, whoever installs it or gets the grant, has to install access for everybody in town, whether they take it or not. But once again, you're in the same position of having a contract with, and she was not able to tell me that there was any different contract for the internet. It all falls into your cable contract, which gives you no power whatsoever to negotiate or to try to modify. So I mentioned that we were gonna have our cable contract was due to be renewed in 2023, I think. How do we deal with that? And, you know, one of the people said, well, you could not sign it, but then people didn't have cable. But then there was a lady from Ackworth who said, well, we didn't sign a renewal agreement with Comcast or whoever they had for 10 years. And they have federal legislation that makes them an evergreen corporation, which means that sign it or don't sign it, the deal remains the same. And they're in town. Which made me think that it doesn't preclude us from approaching someone like a co-op or Carroll County broadband and string another line.
Right.
If somebody wants to keep the cable that they have and pay the money to the cable company at whatever rate they're paying, they have that option. But put the broadband, because the cable companies, almost to a town, they were talking in the 5 or 10 megabytes of service in this new broadband era that they're talking about. And there are other ones who are saying, well, we're getting 80 or 100. I mean, it's all over the map as far as what kind of service they're providing. And they weren't clear, or the lady from the municipal association wasn't clear, whether or not during the negotiations of the cable contract, we could bring up, okay, we're looking at broadband access, we're looking at federal money, we're looking at investment in that. What kind of separate contract can we have?
Well, as I recall, the cable contract, under the federal law that set this whole thing up, is restricted to, our contractual relationship and control over it is restricted to basic cable television service. So anything else that they do beyond that, their, internet and telephone over the internet and all this other stuff, isn't subject to the federal law that established this whole relationship, and is not influenceable by this contract.
Right.
So
Right.
why you would somebody would want to subject any future agreement on something that's outside of this sphere to an existing contract that's very, very limited doesn't make sense to me.
Right. And after having a lot of lay comment on this particular subject matter, I came away thinking, okay, we need to bring our attorney, our telecommunications attorney, who's supposedly working on the cable contract upgrade or renewal, and run all these concepts by her.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That was what I did for the good of the people.
I'm sure it'll be appreciated.
We'll see.
Would you like me to go forward?
Yes.
After the Monday, the 13th meeting where Dennis came in and gave you guys an update, I attended the Parks and Rec Commission meeting, which got me updated. And they're aware of some issues. As you know, personnel is always their problem, but we just appointed 2 people, which should help. One of the problems that they're trying to deal with is the excrement that geese leave on the swim platforms that they have. I'll have to say they're looking into solutions for that, but one of which would require some personnel to be available to take care of that. That was a good meeting. CIP had some questions. They were wondering the status of the possible purchase of the Lion property. They would like to know when we intend to do the Lake Road project, the Union Wharf Road project, and will the police department project go forward when, and do we have to have more money for it? I was able to inform them, of course, that we are going to be meeting later in the year with the construction management outfit to see if building costs have come down enough to make it feasible to proceed next year. But, and I did say to them that, yes, indeed, we will be presenting projected dates on this stuff when we can get a handle on it.
Right.
Citizen Larry Gill has contacted me about the boat launch ramp over at Merrill Lake. And apparently the gravel on the sides of the boat launch paved area is washed away. I have two pictures if you want to see them. Very, very basic. I can only give you one at a time. It's a little bit obvious, yeah, the gravel has washed away. He spoke to the road agent about it. The road agent said it was never done correctly, and that should have been 6-inch stone and one thing or another. And Larry would like us to direct the road agent to correct these problems. I said I would bring this to the attention of my fellow board members, which I did. Does the road agent need to be directed to do maintenance on it?
Well, if he doesn't know about it.
Well, he does know about it now, according to Larry, who said he spoke with him.
Yeah.
Yep.
But should we just send a note saying,
I'll be happy to chat with Jim about it.
Beautiful.
I don't think he needs to be directed to do it.
No.
He knows
might
what.
need to be prompted?
Well, I'll ask him, I'll talk with him about
Right.
it.
I did make a call to Jim yesterday
Yeah.
regarding it.
Okay.
And
You
he
did?
said that he told Larry he would get back in touch with him next week.
All right, why don't we just make sure he follows up with that?
Yeah.
That's what I have.
Okay,
Okay, let's see, what do I have? When was the last time we met?
Monday. Wasn't it?
The
No.
13th?
13.
No, it's the 13th, that's right.
Right,
Yeah.
last Friday.
So, commission met this week. They're still working toward turning over the day-to-day operation of the community garden to the gardeners that are working there. Not without some resistance and reluctance on the part of some members of the commission, but anyway, that's kind of their big piece. We did talk a little bit about having, as a part of the mission of the Agricultural Commission, having an agricultural day in Tuftonboro, as some communities do, that in which local folks do open houses. How do you increase people's awareness and visibility of ongoing agricultural stuff, and so we'll see where that goes.
I do have a question about agricultural.
Yes.
Yes. Is there a plan to remove that big pile of bark mulch before plowing season?
So that bark mulch in the corner parking lot is used to replenish what's on top of that, whatever that material is that covers the walkways. So those most of that will be going back down on the walkways. And
Just a point of interest?
no, it should be.
It certainly would be removed the first time they plowed if
Yeah,
it wasn't.
off the pavement before.
Very good, thank you.
Planning board met last Thursday, approved both of the cell towers that we've been working on for a while.
Good.
And the idea that we got from the company is it will probably be next spring before any of the actual construction work is going on.
Makes sense.
It's that's just the typical timeline they work on.
Right.
And they are so there are now 3 new approved cell tower sites in the town of Tuftonboro, and they did confirm that they're working toward a fourth location, but they're not there yet, which means they don't have an agreement with the landowner. Because that has to happen before they come present anything to the planning board.
So that approval went through the planning board. Is their rent due only after they have a building permit, or?
I think we have to look at the lease as to, because it's specified, we started getting paid at some
Right,
delay after something happened, and it may be after the approval. So,
okay.
Cammie, if you would pull that lease out and take a look at it, and we'll figure out when we can expect to start getting money from them.
Yeah.
I don't have any reason to believe that they wouldn't be right on top of it, but it never hurts for us to make sure we know what's going on. So another thing with respect to the planning board is that we have, planning board chairman had a candidate, potential candidate for the planning board secretary position, and she has some seasonal availability constraints that may or may not make it work.
I thought Jen was looking at that deal.
Well,
Was that not?
so that was an idea that was floated. And another idea is, do we want to entertain this individual that has some seasonal restrictions, and I think Cammie could fill us in on that. We think of that. Or we also have prepared an ad for the newspaper to advertise for a 5 to 15 hour a week planning board secretary, which is, that's what they prepared.
2-page ad?
No, one's a
The
job
first page is
description.
the ad.
Oh, all right.
The one in the bold print is the ad.
That looks good. So we probably should post it anyway. I mean,
I'm gonna suggest we go ahead and post it and put the ad out, and
yeah.
we'll work our way through these other things that may or may not work out, but at the very least, we'll,
All right.
might bring some other interest in.
Young blood.
Hmm?
Young blood.
Yeah, that's right. Young blood. Let's see, what else? I've been approached again by the boat museum about the mooring and a possible different approach to using the mooring next year. That involves a relationship between only the town of Tuftonboro and the town of Wolfboro. And,
Wasn't that what it boiled down to
well, but
anyway?
But something, yeah, but something in what they were doing this past year involved a direct, there was some program they were doing that was totally under the boat museum, which is why the town of Wolfboro didn't want to sign a lease on it. So I told Carrie that I would bring it up today. I'm going to suggest that I chat with Attorney Sager, who was involved in this process before, and get a sense for, he had some concerns last year when we went into this whole thing, before we get into it. And I would also suggest that if we entertain doing a lease like this, that before anything's ever drawn up, that all parties are comfortable with where we're going with this, so we don't get into what we did last year with you know, well, this doesn't work for us, so we'll do it this way. No, this doesn't work for us. If we can't all be on the same page going in, it's kind of pointless to just go through the exercise of,
Now we have a boring
yeah,
way to do it. I mean, I guess we'd have a lottery and just rent it out every year, or what, I don't know what we do.
you know, it's in theory, if you have a youth sailing program that you run with a boat, that's great. And I think in the past, the instructors have been people who work for the Wolfboro Parks and Rec Department. So, you know, I don't know what, and I know Dennis has talked about small boat sailing and doing instructors up here, and I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, but
Right.
rather than, now is a time, it seems to me, to be working toward, if we're gonna do something next year, what's it take to do it? If we're gonna be running sailboat instruction through our Parks and Rec on sunfish or small boats. So staffing issues, you know, finding people,
Right.
putting money in the budget, all this stuff, now is the time to be dealing with it. So maybe our Parks and Rec representative and our Parks and Rec director can have a little chat.
Oh, we will.
So, the other thing that I will, just, pardon me for wandering around, that's just where my mind is today.
Don't feel bad.
So, yeah, Parks and Rec. More than one person has mentioned to me recently the underutilization of Central Park vis-a-vis the increased use of the beach for activities. And I know we've had that conversation with Dennis before, and he really likes the beach, but some of these programs, Central Park has more room for them, and it's, you know, it's a perfectly, it's a great location for it. And takes some of the crowding away from the beach.
Sure,
So,
makes perfect sense.
yeah,
We have it, why not use it?
yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
do know that, for example, the concert series, the band under the pavilion is perfect.
I think summer concert series right down there on the beach is great.
Some of it makes a lot of sense.
Maybe they could do their cornhole up here at the,
I don't know why they couldn't.
Yeah.
The equipment involved is pretty portable.
well, it is, and, you know, I don't know if they need, if they had more interest than they have room down there already. You got more room to spread out up there,
Yep.
so.
I can bring that up for sure.
I guess the only, you done? You think
I'm done,
Okay,
yes.
the only other thing that I remember doing now is we all went to a picnic down at Belknap.
Yes, we
Camp
did.
Belknap.
Oh,
And
I missed it.
I just wanted to make sure you both were aware, but I made it pretty clear to the director of Camp Belknap that a picnic wasn't good enough. My goal, while I'm a selectman, is to make sure that every child in Tuftonboro gets to go to camp. Without a 5-page application form to fill out and without all this other stuff. I don't want any constrictions on, or restrictions on any kid in Tuftonboro going to camp. And he assured me that that was, if not completely in place, going to be in place. There's no reason why we should have this many tax-free entities utilizing our resources with no public citizenship involved on their part. I've got to tell you that in that same vein, I'm going to start a discussion with the Board of Selectmen about discontinuing Northwoods Road. Because if their position is that they will never give us a dime in payment in lieu of taxes, then they should take care of their own road. It's the only thing down there. We can make it a class 6 road as far as I'm concerned. But until these particular camps sometimes are directed that they need to be more public conscious, more conscious of the community that they're living in, and working in and taking advantage of, they're not gonna do anything. And I just remember the conversation about the Boston lawyers saying they can't legally give payment in lieu of taxes.
So
which
should
is-
we invite the director of,
I think if we're gonna go in that direction, we should invite him in before. I don't intend to blindside him.
no, yeah,
But, yeah, until they think there's a consequence, there's nothing coming from that end of things. And they feel as though with the decision in Marist, that they're not obligated to do anything, but that's not the point. The point is, they have an obligation to be good citizens.
so, yeah. So, yeah, another, and I don't know, so another way to approach it perhaps is that as the town provides services to these non-taxpayers, maybe we bill them for those
Yeah,
services.
see, I don't think we can, that's the.
I don't know.
And we looked at that a while ago, and I'm not certain that we can bill them for
Yeah.
the services that we get.
Well, if we were able to, would that mean that we would bill the Governor Wentworth Regional School District if the fire department went to the school for an emergency? I mean, these kind of
Well, that's a
things.
different.
Well, they're
scenario,
not taxpayers.
Because, yeah, that makes it a binary choice, taxpayer or non-taxpayer.
Mhm.
I mean, they're providing public education to the students or children of Tuftonboro. So from that standpoint, they are
They are
doing
contributing.
a
Yeah, okay.
public service.
I see that, yeah.
We're also part owners, so we're billing ourselves at that
Right.
point in time, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But we'll see.
Would it be advisable, I'm aware that there, at least in the past, has been a camp directors organization in town.
Yeah.
Would it be advisable to invite all the camp directors to come in and speak on these kind of things?
The last time we tried, they wanted to meet outside. I
Okay.
mean, the problem that we had is with the camera over here.
Right, they don't want to be public.
Yeah, and they don't think they can be as candid as they need to be. And the other issue that was brought up was moving the road. I don't know if you guys are interested in that at all, but creating a new entrance for Chase Point off of 109 and turning Chase Point Road into a private entrance for Camp Belmont.
No. Hadn't heard anything about that.
Well, now you've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know that it has any legs, but, because they have a board of directors who have to answer.
Well, as it was explained to me, the possibility of Camp Belknap constructing a new road that would actually connect below the camp into the rest of Chase Point Road, and then having the town take that over, and the town giving what is now that section of Chase Point Road back to Camp Belknap was proposed. However, that's the only proposal, and it wasn't made officially, particularly by
No,
anybody.
it's more of an idea being floated
Right.
around, because we had that meeting, and unfortunately Guy wasn't here, but we had that meeting about the traffic
Yeah.
issues.
I was able to watch that at least. So.
Just something to think about. I don't know if it has any legs or if it was just some sort of a,
Well, it at least sounds like something that might be a tad proactive for a change,
yeah. Well, that
which
was
is
what
not a
we-
bad idea.
That's what we were asking for,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
All right, I'm done
Okay.
pontificating.
Let's see.
Other business.
So we get correspondence. Let me just
Yeah.
take a look here. Some emails from Epic Seaplane Adventures. You weren't here the day that the attorney was in, but I think you received a copy of this.
I have,
This
yes.
packet
I've
of
seen that.
information, and just, I read it over, and for clarification, he's speaking to a lot of things that have been talked about and presented, but not these are all outside the request that was made to the Board of Selectmen, which was that we consider allowing the tops of the pilings to be cut off. And which, at this point, we've already said we're not gonna deal with. That when the guy did his fly-in, he was able to demonstrate that he could tie up to the wharf the way it is today, not without some potential hazard to the aircraft. Has to be a little more careful with it. So, but all of that was directed toward commercial operation and all kinds of stuff that is outside anything that we have talked about or considered.
He asked for one thing.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
Excuse me, I just want to reiterate that this board has not voted on approval of that operation.
No.
Or of
Any?
seaplanes tying up at our town pier.
Right.
And I certainly would expect some sort of response, but I haven't read the emails that were.
So, one of the emails, he formally withdraws his request to lower the dock posts.
So we don't have to talk about that anymore.
So we don't have to talk about that anymore. Right. The other one,
But we
he's,
already told them we weren't gonna do it. So.
yeah, so, and then he's got something in here about concerns for an unattended airplane at the wharf. And he's saying attendant should be defined as available to move the aircraft at a moment's notice should the need arise to make access to the fireboat in case of emergency, meaning the aircraft would be considered attended if the pilot were inside the store, for example, purchasing an item. Well, it's great that he said that, but I distinctly remember the conversation before along the lines of someone would be with the plane when it was tied up.
Yeah, and
To the wharf.
although our primary concern is fire and rescue, that's not our only concern.
Right.
I mean, there was a contractor, I think, that was waiting to load a barge at one point and they couldn't get by whatever airplane was there. So impeding public
So
access.
I respectfully disagree with Mr. Wood's contention that his idea of an attended aircraft would mean that if he's in the store shopping or if he's swimming at the town beach or enjoying an outdoor concert and his plane's at the wharf, that it's attended.
That's not what we talked about. when we
No,
were
it's
there.
not.
He doesn't need to reinterpret what we already said, which was someone would be with the plane at all times.
Right. So, anyway. The saga goes on. All right, so an email on the COVID expenses relief program. I'm not gonna read all the way through it. An email from somebody on Pine Mill Drive about the need of repair and wanting to bring it to our attention. And of course, that was one of the residential streets that we drove on our ride around. And it's on our radar as one that
That's
needs.
part of, I actually had, I'll update again.
Yeah.
I explained to CIP why there were two paving warrant articles
Okay,
and the difference between a through road and our neighborhood roads, and they were very, very receptive to that.
yeah.
So, it's
Well,
good.
it's my hope that by having two separate articles, that we can keep everybody focused on the need to maintain the through roads and a separate
Right.
but important need
Right.
to deal with the residential streets.
Definitely.
So, notice of decision on the Board of Adjustment, notice of a public meeting next Tuesday of the Board of Adjustment. Lakes Region Planning Commission meeting Monday, September 27th at 6 PM at the Meredith Community Center. And let's see, I think that's, have I missed anything important, Tammy?
I don't think so.
More stuff here. Executive counselors, wrap up, schedule, yada, yada. All right. Do we have any other public business? have,
Herr Hunt is here.
yes.
Just 2 minutes. The reason I dropped by this morning is, of course, you already addressed part of it by starting to deal with your budget items. I want to know how far along you were in your process so we can get our process going. I had worked out a schedule. Somehow you mentioned October 5th, which is what I would like to use for our first meeting. These are I hate to use the phrase boilerplate, but a lot of the ones, articles we dealt with this morning are boilerplate. And if you have any more that you can do between now and then, that would make us
So now-
worthwhile having a meeting.
Right, now and then is next week.
Yeah, the 5th is a week from Tuesday.
Right. So we meet again on the 4th.
And does that give, I don't know if that doesn't give time enough to get the results of that meeting out to the budget committee.
Well, it depends upon how much in advance they need it. I don't have a good feel for how all that works.
I like to have people have an opportunity to read things before they get to the meeting.
Right,
We could do it electronically, but we also like to get the paperwork out to people earlier.
right.
I had set up, just to let you know that I had set up, in my mind at least, October 5th, October 26th, 2 in November, 1 in December, 2 in January, culminating with our hearing being on the 8th of February
Right.
of next year, which pretty much follows the same line dates we had last year.
Right.
In fact, it's only a day off because it's only a different year. So you did what, 5 this morning, 6 this morning,
10.
10?
Again, most of them are
Yes.
very, very straightforward
Okay.
and simple.
All right, well, then I will then proceed that we will have our first meeting October 5th.
Yeah, I think it's good to start, get those out of the way. By the
Okay.
26th, we'll probably have
Very
a
good.
half dozen more, but also on the 26th, I should have more information about insurance, wages, that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
how that looks like it's gonna shake out. We've already, well, you'll get the CIP report, so
Mhm.
we've got an idea what might hit the,
Fan.
yeah. I mean, I took the police chief to task this morning about his cruiser. I didn't have company in my bitch.
All right, well, as I said, I was more concerned making sure that, it's gonna be worthwhile for us to start on the 5th of October. 10 issues to deal with, it will be. So with that, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
We'll get needles stuck in my neck.
Do we have any other public input?
Yes, we do.
Oh, Jesus.
Kim could not get it out of my throat. I need a little clarification on Adam's talk about radios. We talked about new ones for $4,000, old ones for $2,000, and we were talking about maybe we would go half and half. And the part I didn't quite understand is if you went with half with new and half with the $2,000 ones, those $2,000 ones would have to be replaced after 5 years instead of 15 years?
No.
No,
Okay, that's
No.
that's what I'm trying to...
no. We're looking to buy,
All,
to replace all of the radios, and the expected life on the new radios is 15 years.
okay,
So, he was looking at a mix of full-featured and reduced-featured radios. But I think before we move forward, lay all the details out on the table. And my concern is that he not be so constrained by the budget of what's in the warrant article that we don't get something that provides safe, reliable communication to our responders when they're out there dealing
Okay.
with issues.
so you cleared that up, thank you, that's all I
All right.
wanted to know.
Okay?
That's all I
Great.
got.
So we do have a couple of non-publics this morning. Yeah.
It lasts too long. I got a 1 o'clock appointment to get my license renewed.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, well, it may not be able to pass the test, but,
It better not be a test, I haven't studied.
all right. So, I'll move that we go into non-public for 91A. It's, first one is legal matters.
I'll second.
Marcus, yes?
Pike, yes?
I'll be yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.